Psychology by Catherine Mansfield. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in a public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit librivox.org. Psychology by Catherine Mansfield. When she opened the door and saw him standing there, she was more pleased than ever before, and he too, as he followed her into the studio, seemed very, very happy to have come.
Not busy?
No, just going to have tea.
And you are not expecting anybody?
Nobody at all.
Ah, that's good.
He laid aside his coat and hat gently, lingeringly, as though he had time and to spare for everything, or as though he were taking leave of them forever, and came over to the fire and held out his hands to the quick leaping flame. Just for a moment both of them stood silent in that leaping light. Still, as it were, they tasted on their smiling lips the sweet shock of their greeting. Their secret selves whispered,
Why should we speak? Isn't this enough?
More than enough. I never realized until this moment.
How good it is just to be with you.
Like this.
It's more than enough.
But suddenly he turned and looked at her, and she moved quickly away. Have a cigarette? I'll put a kettle on. Are you longing for tea?
No, not longing.
Well, I am.
Oh, you.
He thumbed the Armenian cushion and flung on to the sommier.
You're a perfect little Chinese.
Yes, I am, she laughed. I long for tea as strong men long for wine. She lighted the lamp under its broad orange shade, pulled the curtains, and drew up the tea table. Two birds sang in the kettle. The fire fluttered. He sat up, clasping his knees. It was delightful, this business of having tea, and she always had delicious things to eat, little sharp sandwiches, short sweet almond fingers, and a dark rich cake tasting of rum. But it was an interruption. He wanted it over. The table pushed away, the two chairs drawn up to the light, and the moment came when he took out his pipe, filled it, and said, pressing the tobacco tight into the bowl,
I have been thinking over what you said last time, and it seems to me...
Yes, that was what he waited for, and so did she. Yes, while she shook the teapot hot and dry over the spirit flame, she saw those other two, him leaning back, taking his ease among the cushions, and her, curled up en escargot in the blue shell armchair. The picture was so clear and so minute it might have been painted on the blue teapot lid, and yet she couldn't hurry. She could almost have cried, "Give me time!" She must have time in which to grow calm. She wanted time in which to free herself from all these familiar things with which she lived so vividly. For all these gay things round her were part of her, her offspring, and they knew it, and made the largest, most vehement claims. But now they must go. They must be swept away, shooed away, like children sent up the shadowy stairs, packed into bed, and commanded to go to sleep, at once, without a murmur. For the special thrilling quality of their friendship was in their complete surrender. Like two open cities in the midst of some vast plain, the two minds lay open to each other, and it wasn't as if he rode into hers like a conqueror, armed to the eyebrows and seeing nothing but a gay silken flutter. Nor did she enter his like a queen walking soft on petals. No, they were eager, serious travellers, absorbed in understanding what was to be seen and discovering what was hidden, making the most of this extraordinary absolute chance which made it possible for him to be utterly truthful to her, and for her to be utterly sincere with him. And the best of it was, they were both of them old enough to enjoy their adventure to the full, without any stupid emotional complication. Passion would have ruined everything. They quite saw that. Besides, all that sort of thing was over and done with for both of them. He was 31. She was 30. They had had their experiences, and very rich and varied they had been, but now was the time for harvest. Harvest. Weren't his novels to be very big novels indeed? And her plays? Who else had her exquisite sense of real English comedy? Carefully she cut the cake into thick little wads, and he reached across for a piece. "Do you realize how good it is?" she implored. "Eat it imaginatively. Roll your eyes if you can, and taste it on the breath. It's not a sandwich on the hatter's back. It's the kind of cake that might have been mentioned in the book of Genesis. And God said, 'Let there be cake,' and there was cake. And God saw that it was good."
You needn't entreat me,
said he.
Really, you needn't. It's a queer thing, but I always do notice what I eat here and never anywhere else. I suppose it comes of living alone so long and always reading while I feed, my habit of looking upon food as just food, something that's there at certain times to be devoured, to be not there.
He laughed.
It shocks you, doesn't it?
"To the bone," said she.
But look here.
He pushed away his cup and began to speak very fast.
I simply haven't got any external life at all. I don't know the names of things a bit, trees and so on, and I never notice places or furniture or what people look like. One room is just like another to me, a place to sit and read or talk in, except...
And here he paused, smiled in a strange naive way, and said,
"Except this studio."
He looked round him and then at her. He laughed in his astonishment and pleasure. He was like a man who wakes up in a train to find that he has arrived already at the journey's end.
Here's another queer thing. If I shut my eyes, I can see this place down to every detail. Every detail. Now I come to think of it, I've never realized this consciously before. Often when I'm away from here, I revisit it in spirit, wander about among your red chairs, stare at the bowl of fruit on the black table, and just touch very lightly that marvel of a sleeping boy's head.
He looked at it as he spoke. It stood on the corner of the mantelpiece, the head to one side down drooping, the lips parted, as though in his sleep the little boy listened to some sweet sound.
"I love that little boy,"
he murmured. And then they both were silent. A new silence came between them. Nothing in the least like the satisfactory pause that had followed their greetings. The, "Well, here we are together again, and there's no reason why we shouldn't go on from just where we left off last time." That silence could be contained in the circle of warm, delightful fire and lamplight. How many times hadn't they flung something into it just for the fun of watching the ripples break on the easy shores? But into this unfamiliar pool the head of the little boy sleeping his timeless sleep dropped, and the ripples float away, away, boundlessly far, into deep, glittering darkness. And then both of them broke it. She said, "I must make up the fire." And he said,
"I have been trying a new..."
Both of them escaped. She made up the fire and put the table back. The blue chair was wheeled forward. She curled up, and he lay back among the cushions. Quickly, quickly, they must stop it from happening again. "Well, I read the book you left last time."
"Oh, what do you think of it?"
They were off, and all was as usual. But was it? Weren't they just a little too quick, too prompt with their replies, too ready to take each other up? Was this really anything more than a wonderfully good imitation of other occasions? His heart beat. Her cheek burned, and the stupid thing was, she could not discover where exactly they were, or what exactly was happening. She hadn't time to glance back. And just as she had got so far, it happened again. They faltered, wavered, broke down, were silent. Again they were conscious of the boundless, questioning dark.